Hi guys, welcome to Diane's Crafty Corner. Welcome to Sunday Chit Chat down at the table. Today is the first day I've been in my craft room in quite a few days, and I spent some time today rearranging my cardstocks and putting them all on a official cardstock holder. So when I finished that, I wanted to try out all the different cardstocks that I have in. Not all, most of them. I have some of my favorite things, and I also have some Simon Says Stamp white cardstock, but I don't have a lot of it, and because I never use it to Copic color, I figured I would leave that out of the match. But everything else that I had stored up, I thought I would give a try and try to see how it all looks when I color and if it blends okay. And I was kind of surprised by the outcome, so I thought I would come on and share that with you. So happy Sunday and happy Sunday Chit Chat. I've been away for about 2 weeks, give or take a couple of giveaways. And I will be returning full-time, not this coming up week, but the following week. This coming up week, we are going to visit Haley and the twins. This has been a scheduled thing I've already told you guys about. So I will not be filming at all next week, but the following week I will be back to my full 2 or 3 videos a week. So thank you guys for giving me some time. I have had quite a time the last few weeks, and we'll share that at another time. And I thank you guys for all the warm wishes that you've been sending me. I appreciate that so very much. I've received such beautiful letters, emails, PMs, and messages and so forth. On the other side of that, I also received quite a good bit of hate mail after my last giveaway. I guess I was expecting it. You know, I always feel guilty when I do a big giveaway. But yeah, this one was extremely bad. I had, which I'm going to show you guys the email. They both of these were emails. The worst ones were emails, by the way. Had the usual not fair, blah, 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 whatevers. And not that I don't feel for them, I do. But then I also had one that said, F you, I hate you, Miss Di. I had another one that wished I was dead. Just, oh my gosh, guys, I'm telling you, sometimes it's just not even worth the aggravation. So I'm going to be rethinking those giveaways. As I've said before, and I probably will say it again, I just don't know that they're worth my emotional well-being. So meanwhile, getting back to what I'm actually on this channel for, sharing stuff, so I thought I would share with you something. So this is what I did. I got together a whole bunch of the white cardstock that I had, and I stamped out a couple of pumpkins from a Lawn Fawn stamp set, and I used 3 colors. I used the YR 15, 16, and 18. 15, 16, and 18. And I colored up half of the image on each one of these cardstocks. I let it dry, and then I came back and looked at it. And I have to tell you, I'm kind of surprised. So I'm just going to kind of go over my results, and I'll show you we'll just start with this one, because I've seen quite a few people use this cardstock, and I tried it way back in the beginning. And I have to say it wasn't something I thought I would ever use. Okay? I've kind of changed my mind on that. So this is the Georgia Pacific. As they say, it's 110 pounds. It's so not 110 pounds any way, shape, or form. If you guys are familiar with 110 pound cardstock, this is not it. This is straight up thin as can be. Now, that benefits me because I cut out all my images on a Brother Scan and Cut. The thinner the paper is, the easier it is to cut. The thinner the paper it is, the less stickiness you need. The thinner the paper it is, the less wear and tear on your blade. So I enjoy that. As a rule, what I look for in my paper is I look for something that's easy to blend, something that's easy to cut, and something that requires little ink on the laydown. That's where this one faulted. This one required a lot of ink to lay down on it, and that's because the fibers are not that, it's not a smooth cardstock. So it really had to soak in and layer it up for the colors to blend. But they did blend. So there's the Georgia Pacific, 110 pounds. And because you guys didn't get to see what I did, I'm just going to show you on this one real quick what I did. I took my lightest color and I just colored it. Let me make sure I'm in frame. I just colored the whole pumpkin in my lightest shade, which is what I always do when I'm doing an image. I like to have a base down, kind of wet the paper, and then I go in with the rest. So I did that. Then I went in with my middle shade, which is the 16, and in this case I'm working up from the bottom to the top from my deepest color. And already you can see that's blending really good, guys, huh? It tends to bleed a little bit outside the lines because you have to saturate the paper. But if I were being more careful, that wouldn't happen. Then I would go in with my darkest color. And by the way, guys, I am going to cut all these out and save them and use them because you know I don't like to waste a thing. So right there's my darkest color. I'm going to come back in with my middle color just a little bit. Now you guys will be able to see it wet, and then I'm going to come back in with my lightest color and blend down. All right, so except for the bleeding out here, isn't that fantastic? And if I had taken my time, there wouldn't be any bleeding. Not bad for a very cheap cardstock that you can get at your local Walmart. So I was quite surprised by that. All right, so there's that one. Here's the Nina that you can pick up at Target or at Walmart. This is a 65 pounds, and as you can see, they're very similar in weight, okay? And it blended very well, which I expected it to. It did very well as well. No problems. Again, a little bit of bleeding on the outside, but if I had taken my time, it would have stayed more on the inside. I wouldn't have gotten so close to the black lines, but it did really good too. So my point to this video is to show you that, you know, you can get a good blend with almost any paper. Here's the Nina 110 pound cardstock. It took a lot of ink to saturate this, but of course it did a great job. This is killer cardstock. I use it for all my bases. I never use it to color with, however, because I feel like it takes way too much ink and I'm stingy with my ink. So, but it did a great job. And let's look at a comparison, guys. Let's take this Georgia Pacific, which is, I think, I don't know, $3 a ream. Not bad, right? You can see some white dots and some spots in there. For sure, you can. It's because the paper is not as smooth. The paper's not as smooth or as dense or a higher quality paper. This, you can tell there's no blurbs in there whatsoever. It's because it's a smoother, high quality paper. But most of us don't need it to be expert quality, so I think that's pretty good. The next one I wanted to try out, I've never used with my Copics before. That's the Bristol Smooth. It's what I use for most of my watercoloring, and I think it did a fabulous job. In fact, I loved the effect, so I'll be doing that more often. I'm a little stingy with my Bristol, though, I have to say, but I think it did a marvelous job. Gave a whole different look to it, and I just think it's fantastic. Here's the Nina 80 pound, which is what most of the big gurus use for coloring, and it did a marvelous job as well. Just beautiful. Blended effortlessly, took very little ink, took very little time to blend. Super cool. Here's the Recollections 110 pound cardstock, which again, I adore this cardstock. It's nice and thick. It has a texture to it. It's definitely not smooth like the Nina, but there was no white dot effects coming on with it. It did take quite a lot of ink to lay down enough color to blend it. I would say that it did a passable job. I feel like the middle and the darker color didn't blend as well, but I think it did a pretty good job. Let's see what else do I have over here. Oh, that's just a scrap piece of paper. All right, so these three are the three that I normally only use for Copics, but I'll be rethinking that now. I do, like I said, I prefer a thinner paper, so I'll never use the Nina 110 or the Recollections 110. The Nina 65 pounds is very thin. I could use that. I wouldn't use my Bristol. The Nina 80 I have used before in my Brother Scan-N-Cut. It does fine. But the thinner the paper, the easier the cutting out. So these are the three that I use the most, and I'd have to say all three of them did a great job. All three of them look pretty much identical. And then I'm going to tell you which one of these threes are my favorite. Which one do I grab for the most? So here's my Spectrum Noir. It's 100 pounds. It makes a good card base as well. It's super smooth. It takes very little ink. It blends effortlessly, whether you're using Spectrum Noirs or Copics. It does a very good job blending. You're not going to have a problem at all blending. I really like this paper quite a bit. It's because of how dense it is. It's a little harder to cut out with the Brother Scan-N-Cut. I normally have to go over it twice on the setting that I like to use. But it's not impossible. You know, I could change my setting and cut it out in one swoop, but I prefer to keep one setting on my blade for most of my cutting. So again, it did a very good job. No complaints. I really like the color. Express It, which is, these two are the two that I grab for the most. So here's my preferred paper, but it's really hard to find. It's the Copic Mini Packs. It's 70 pounds, it's super thin, and it does just a fabulous job. It takes very little ink. I'm telling you guys, it takes so little ink to color. It's almost ridiculous, and it does a fabulous job. Again, on this one, I don't think I did a really good job blending the oranges here on the bottom. I think I could have done a better job, but I did really lay these down super, super fast. And then here's my second one, which is the Express It, and I grabbed for this a lot only because this is harder to find right now. And it did a fabulous job. No complaints whatsoever. It always does. I never have a problem blending this at all. So out of all of these, what was my biggest surprise? I'm going to tell you. My biggest surprise was, dun, 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 dun. I didn't do that for effect. I did it because I couldn't think. My biggest surprise was the Bristol. I have to tell you guys, the Bristol did an amazing job, and it gave it a different effect. It just looks, on top of being super smooth, it was really easy to blend and lay down. It just looks fabulous. It really has a little bit of a different look. It made the oranges a little more yellow, and I just really like the effect. So I was super surprised by that. And I am also extremely surprised by the Georgia Pacific, although it's nowhere near 110 pounds, so don't let that mislead you at all. It's not even close to 110 pound cardstock. Why that's even on the label, I don't know. But it takes a lot more ink, but it's totally inexpensive. And if you're going to be cutting your images out and then layering them up on cardstock anyway, I say why not? Save yourself some money. The color's pretty true. I mean, let's compare the color to Nina 80 pound, right? So everybody says you want your whites to match, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, if you're going to lay down a panel on a card, you do want your whites to match. I agree with that. But if you're going to be cutting out an image, I mean, look, guys, seriously. There's some white showing through this. That's the truth. There's not any white showing through on this one. But the colors are pretty much spot on to what they should be. So I say go for it. You know, save yourself a little bit of money on some of the images you're doing. Especially if they're not cards that you're selling, if they're cards you're giving away to family members or, you know, to fellow crafters or something, why not? If it's something you're doing for a challenge, or if it's something you're doing for a boy, my mind has just not been right lately. If it's something that you're doing for, if you're working for a company and you're doing a design team, I wouldn't use this paper. I definitely wouldn't. I would go with a higher quality paper just so that it would show fantastically in pictures, but that's just me. If I were selling the project, I also would not use this paper at all. I would definitely go with either one of the Copic friendly papers. The Bristol did a fabulous job, but that would be a little expensive, and the Nina 80 pound, As I said, most people in the industry grab for this, and I think it did a pretty good job. And I'm going to show you guys that one real quick, and then I'm going to say goodbye to you guys for the next week. But I will be back, I promise. All right, so again, I'm just going over it with my lightest color. So we have had the weather, oh, bad weather today, guys. It's going to be that way today and tomorrow, I think, although I think it's going to blow through early. But super rainy and windy. We've got under a flood warning and all that. I'm going to go in with the medium. And this time I'm really going to focus on blending it upward and be a little bit slower, because I know for a fact that this color, not this color, I picked 3 colors that are totally blendable on purpose because I wanted this to be easy. But I'm going to take my time and show you, because here you can kind of see it looks a little scratchy on the bottom. That's just because I hurried it. If you take your time and blend it, you're not going to have that problem. And this, the Nina 80 pound, does wonderful, but it requires a lot of ink, which is why I don't grab it more often for my own images, because I like to use as little ink as possible. And that, for me, is the thinner paper. I'm just going to grab what I've already laid down, blend it up a little bit. And I'm going to go back in with my lighter paper. My lighter paper, with my lighter color. And if you wanted to, you could even go with an even lighter color and little shaded in little spots to give it a little highlight. And as you can see already, that looks fantastic. So, you know, that's the Nina. I think it does a spectacular job. Definitely one of my favorites. It's just I prefer to use less ink, and I really like how fast these other ones, the Express It and the Copic paper cut out. They cut out super fast and quick on the Brother, so that's my choice. But you know, as you can see, guys, which is the point I'm trying to make, you could get away with using almost any of these papers. So don't be afraid to just try, you know, to try different papers and come up with your own style of coloring. It's all going to look great. Remember to keep it to 2 or 3 colors when you're blending. If you keep it to 2 or 3 colors in the blending family, you're never going to have a problem. You could go even out more. I did 15, 16, and 18. You could do 15, 18, and a darker color. Or, you know, you could jump them out more is what I'm trying to say. You don't have to keep them just in that family. And those 3. You don't have to skip 1. You could skip 2. I wouldn't skip more than 3 unless you really know your colors. And again, I highly recommend Sandy Allnock's hex chart, because that's thinking outside of the box. She gives you lots of ideas with Copics anyway. I wish she would come out with something with Spectrum Noir, but she gives you a lot of ideas for colors that are not in the same family that are together, that work fantastic and blend well. And I found quite a few on there that are my favorites that you just even wouldn't guess. Like, let's see if I can tell you right off the hand. I like, okay, here's one. I like R12, R32, and RV42. Those 3 colors together on a soft color flower are gorgeous. But you see those colors together and you would never think they go together. That's why I love her chart, because you can come up with color combinations that are all within that graph that are going to work well together, and they always do, and they always blend good together. But these were simple colors. Like I said, I keep them just one. I kept them all 1 number apart or 2 numbers apart. 15, 16, and 18. I don't think there is a 17. There might be. I don't have it if there is. And then, so that made it very easy for these oranges. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I will see you in the next video, which will be the middle of, not this week coming up, but the middle of next week, okay? I will see you then. I hope you guys have had a great Sunday, and I hope that you got to spend it doing something you truly love with someone you truly love and having the best time of your life. I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.